Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of the Outside Insider podcast here on Philly Sports Network with myself, Liam Jenkins. You know the score by now. All things Eagles related, wrapped up, put inside a package and dropped down your roof by a drone. Not an Amazon Prime drone, just some random guy that lives close to you, and he's just going to plop it down there to spark a thought of maybe I should get that tile around before, not someone called Tyler, but an actual roof tiler, to make sure we repair the hole in the roof. If you are new to this podcast, if you have not yet subscribed, if you're wondering what the hell that analogy was, now's the time to do so. We are on Apple Podcasts, Spreaker, Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio, YouTube, all good podcasting platforms, and a box of cereal bars, I have heard, from a source, anonymously. Today is a special day, not because it is the start of Season 6 of the Outside Insider podcast. I've not, been able to hit that ground running there. I've had 2 weeks now where I've said, this is the last episode of Season 5, I promise, this is it. Turns out it's kind of this one. This is a prelude. Because next week, officially 1 week from today, ladies and gentlemen, training camp will begin. Now, I don't know what sound effects are playing here, if I'm honest. I'm hitting buttons. I don't know what's coming out. I can only assume they are happy noises. If not, we have got some problems. I can only apologise. I've muted the soundboard, so I don't know. It's a roulette wheel, if you will. But training camp is a week away, and I'm in a bit of a dilemma, ladies and gentlemen. My dilemma is that Liam number 2 is looking at Liam number 1 going, Liam, you've got a whole week's worth of content to grind out. You've come back refreshed. We'll get onto that in just a moment's time. That you're going to be grinding out. We're going to have videos on the guys to watch, the sleepers, the stars, positional previews, battles, everything. What, you can't ruin it with a podcast. You can't say the same thing twice. That's just borderline silly. You silly nugget. You can't do that. So, I've had to approach this a bit differently. Obviously, there is no giveaway this week for t-shirts. I'm still going to post last week, so apologies to the guys who won last week. I think it was Barry and Bracey, if I'm not mistaken. They are being sent out. I was away this week, so I kind of didn't get around to it, so my bad. I'll get to that in just a little bit. But I need to be a bit different here. So what I'm going to approach training camp with is the 5 players in training camp this week, or that I'll be watching a little bit closer than usual, that can be associated with an LJ analogy. Because I feel like that's the only way to prelude training camp. I could get a beat reporter in, but we can do that during training camp. I could say, the quarterback room, or the wide receiver, or running back, or think of all those rookie. I could do that, but you've read it, alright? You've read it on Philly Sports Network. I've said it. So, let's just forget it. I've read it. No, you've said it. No, you've read it. I've said it. Let's forget it. Okay? We need fresh content, fresh ideas. And that's where LJ comes in. So before we get to that, obviously a quick apology. I have been away this week. My voice may sound a little bit manlier than normal. It probably doesn't. This is wishful thinking. The reason for that, I went away to London. To have a passport interview, which has been approved. LJ has a passport. The issue is now getting an ESTA or a visa so I can travel to Philadelphia. I don't know which one to get. That's a problem in itself, but we'll get there. Baby steps. But then I saw Travis Scott in London. That was good. That's where I hurt my voice. Got kicked in the back. I bruised just about everything on me. I've somehow cut my hand. I don't know how that happened, but that was a thing. And then I played basketball. And for the brand, we were playing basketball. And there were 2 teenagers down at the court watching me ball out in my elite ways. And they're like, do you guys want a 2v2? And I was like, alright, you're a bit shorter than us. I'm a Goliath, obviously. So you take one. My friend can play the other one. And the guy that we were playing with said, you are tall as... And what was my response? If you listen to this podcast for more than 2 episodes, what is my response? Obviously, the 38-inch vertical. Of course I'm tall as that. Look at me, I'm a god amongst men. I'm an absolute... I'm a Goliath. I'm a beast. So I stood over him and I was like, 38-inch vertical. Don't mind it. Don't even worry about it. It's fine. It's what I do. Alright? Turns out he played for a team and was actually pretty good. But that's how I spent my last few days. There have been YouTube videos though. I literally planned. I'm pre-recorded 2 YouTube videos, pre-wrote 3 articles, and scheduled a bunch of stuff so I could try and have time away. Didn't work as well. I was still working on my holiday because that's the only way I know. But thank you so much for all of the support for those videos. Like those 2 specifically were really well received, so that was a nice touch. And we now get back to today and the Outside Insider podcast. And while, again, there are no giveaways, we do have to give away last week's clues because no one got them. So the clues I gave away last week, no one got them. We had entries. We had over 20 entries. And I thought I made these easy. I thought I made these really, really easy. But that didn't go well. So the first clue was I play this electric guitar undercover. Shelton Gibson. Shelter. See? Right? Number 2, I'm going fishing with Ryan. I hope I don't forget the blank. That was Ryan Bates. And 3, Madden, Drake's half-brother. Josh Adams. Drake and Josh. Madden. See, it's alright. Maybe I'm expecting too much. Maybe these clues are bad and we need to reevaluate. But either way, there are no clues this week. So this is the first in history, I think, that no one has won in a while. First in history in a while. But we are going to get onto the Eagles stuff now because, again, it's an interesting time for many. Training camp and pre-season is my favourite time of the year, without a shadow of a doubt. We've still got Thank You Next. That's coming, don't worry. We're still going to get to your questions. But this is just the prelude of the guys on the roster. They're just going to be scrolling up and down the roster, finding guys that have an LJ analogy attached to them. A player that stands out, that would fit a mould of this Outside Insider podcast. And we're going to start with one of my favourite players that we're rooting for, that I spoke about earlier on, that a player that I really want to see do well, that I think could do well. Captain Cre'Von. The man who has become such a pivotal role, such a pivotal figure in the LJ brand as Captain Cre'Von. He's got a big off-season ahead. Because not only are there about 77 cornerbacks in that Eagles locker room, but in terms of slot duties, if we're taking a really realistic look, if Mills is healthy for training camp, then Cre'Von LeBlanc is realistically looking at a slot backup, maybe. That's it. Because you're going to have Darby CB1, Mills CB2, Jones would have to be CB3 by default, and Cre'Von's then in a slot. But LeBlanc's just always there when you need him. Doesn't matter how much you overlook him, how much you forget he's there, how many other guys are in the picture. You always know, come clutch time, Cre'Von LeBlanc is going to have your back. And I mean, the best comment I received on last podcast was from William Blackfire, one of our main commenters on the Philly Sports Network YouTube channel, who said, he's a simple man. LJ makes an analogy about his love life. He chuckles. So do I, William. So do I. But Cre'Von LeBlanc would be that perfect synopsis, right? That for a team as someone that goes out and, yeah, that they keep kind of getting all these people and maybe getting in new relationships, but if they fail, they know where they stand. Oh, reliables never let them down. Cre'Von LeBlanc, interception against the Saints. First play of the game. Stepped in at a moment's notice. Pulled in a pinch. When he was signed through the heart of last season. And now he gets to an off-season where he could be overlooked. Even Madden did him justice. With a 73 overall. Like, that is good. Like, well done, Cre'Von. That's really... I mean, I'm proud. I'm proud Captain Cre'Von got such a high rating. I'm disappointed we couldn't get him on the show. I tried several times. The DM slides were unsuccessful, which, if you know me, is nothing from the norm. The second player that I'm kind of rooting for, in a very... just an unselfish way because of his journey, is Mack Hollins. And he's a guy that I've thought since day one would be the perfect slot replacement one day. Purely because if you look at how he was used last year, well, in his, rookie year, let's not use last year because how he was used last year was on a bench, dealing with a phantom injury. But Mack Hollins, the journey's made back from recovery, whatever injury that may have been, it was still shrouded in mystery. Like, there was a massive dent, I think, on the trust of the Eagles medical staff again, which is the last thing they needed. But if you remember back to that rookie year, when he was explosive, when he was making those big-time catches, the little Millie Rock. I think Mack Hollins was a guy that, if moved inside, he's just got the size to be really dominant from the slot. He's 6'4", 221 pounds, but as someone that was very explosive as a deep threat out of UNC, the Eagles have craved that, as we know, for quite some time. They've also craved size. That's why they had the DGB experiment. And if you think back to the pre-draft process, they were looking at big slot guys. They brought a slurry of them in. I think a slurry, I probably meant a flurry or a slew there. Slurry is a bad word in England that describes, just a sewage of excrement, I think. But Mack Hollins is in a really weird position. Really weird position. Because last year, at the timing of that injury, the Eagles receiving corps needed him. If you think at the time, if we think pre-season, training camp, Hollins goes down with injuries, like, okay, he'll be back soon. He's not going to end up the whole year on IR with a groin injury. Oh, that's silly. And then Mike Wallace goes down. Alshon Jeffrey obviously missed the first couple of games. Nelson Aguilar is having to carry the unit. Then they have to sign Jordan Matthews for help in season. Then they go and sign Golden Tate. If Mack Hollins was healthy, that guy would have been a key contributor to that team. But he wasn't. And now, because of that, Hollins enters a training camp where Nelson Aguilar has been essentially allowed to play on a $9.4 million cap hit. Alshon Jeffrey is the highest paid player on the team. Technically, depending which way you look at it. Certainly the position. And then the team signed DeSean Jackson, who everybody loves, everybody's besotted with. DeSean Jackson's back. D-Jack's back. He's never lost a step. The great D-Jack's the best to ever do it. He's so quick and And Mack Hollins now comes into it after the team were almost depending on his recovery, almost craving him to come back. Almost begging for it. I mean, let's not forget, that rookie year, he averaged 14.1 yards per reception. Huge 64-yard touchdown, obviously came against the Redskins, but caught 72% of his targets. He was a strong guy. Like, he's a big body over the middle, and when partnered with someone like Zach Ertz, or what would have been the dream formation that would have made me flustered, Ertz, Goddard, and then Mack Hollins, all on one side of the field. Because how the hell are you going to stop that? As a safety, as a corner, as a linebacker, what are you going to do? If you're going to have a shallow crossing route, maybe a corner over the middle and a post the other way, you're going to force one of those safeties in a cover two to come for you. I'm just playing out this hypothetical in my head, assuming that you're going to know what I'm seeing. But then again, Hollins comes back this year with a totally different wide receiver core, where there is attention all over it. Because it's not just the main guys anymore. It's JJ Arcega-Whiteside now. It's not just that they've gone and got DeSean Jackson, it's, we've drafted a guy in the second round who fits the mould of our WR1. It's, we've gone and got Markin Michel, he was a stallion for the Calgary Stampeders last year. An absolute stallion. And I will get to Markin Michel later on, but I'm a really big fan of his play. There might be a video coming out, who knows. You have guys like Braxton Miller, who were heavily praised by the coaching staff. Greg Ward makes his return. Charles Johnson, a 30-year-old veteran who's been in the NFL since 2013. This is a hard team to crack now, if you are on the edge of that roster. And do you know what it reminds me of? I've used this analogy in the past as well. I was that kid at school that didn't ever really get invited to much. Okay, I was a kid sat in the library watching NFL.com top 10s or playing weird flash games because it was better than being thrown in a skip, alright? But then you get to a point where your friendship group makes a plan and they talk about the plan to you knowing you're not in it. Like, I can't wait to go and see The Incredibles at the cinema this week, guys. It's going to be so much fun. And I'm like, that means they're going to see The Incredibles and I'm not going. That'll be great. And it's gone from being part of that group to then not being invited to then the next day them all coming and it was so good, went and bragging about how great it was, and all of them in this little circle together. Because all of a sudden that circle is Alshon, it's DeSean, it's Sega, it's Nelson Aguilar, That's 4 guys straight away. If they're only going to carry an extra couple receivers, there is some stiff competition. Shelton Gibson, his fellow draft mate, is one of them. So out of nowhere, it's almost like they've gone up to Mack and they go, oh, look at this. Here's me and Deshaun running routes. Here's me and Deshaun catching balls. Here's me and Deshaun running up and down. And he's going, oh, yeah, great, brilliant. Oh, yeah, lovely, woo, yeah, go. And then lobs the phone at a brick wall. That is a tough spot to be in. And I would love Mack Hollins to blow up this preseason. I would love Mack Hollins to be active, to be healthy, to show that he's rehabbed from whatever that phantom injury was, whether we get an explanation for it or not, just to throw the cat among the pigeons and say that he is still here. And that if Nelson Aguilar does move on next year, that the Eagles do have a slot receiver, a big slot body. They don't have to go and draft one, they don't have to go and sign one. They certainly don't need to trade for one at the deadline. They've got one in Mack Hollins. I'd love that. Just from a personal, almost underdog vendetta perspective. And that's interesting in itself, because I wrote an article earlier today detailing the Eagles' real interest in the CFL and why they keep going there. We've seen Aaron Grimes, we've seen Mitchell White, now we've got Mark and Michelle, Alex Singleton, 2 guys that I'm kind of, low-key hoping for, because I'm a big CFL guy, I love the league. But there was a quote. I was watching a Howie Roseman talk the other day. He spoke to Wharton's school. And he said something very, very interesting. And it sparked a massive kind of internal discussion. Because I was thinking it does make sense. It just fits exactly what the Eagles tried to do every single year. This was done in 2018, bear in mind. This was just after the Eagles had won the Super Bowl. So it was how you sustain... The question was to do with how do you sustain culture? What do you do now? You've gone and won it all. You've done everything you could ever need to do. So what happens next? And Roseman said, we know we have to change the chemistry. To create competition and create that same sense of urgency we had, how do we do that? We get more people who have that underdog feeling, who feel like they've been kicked to the side and that need to win. I think that applies very well to Mack Hollins. I think that's probably why the team didn't part ways. And it would not surprise me if Hollins does go and ball out, if he does have himself a strong preseason. Maybe not to the extent that he's going to blow the league away and have loads of different articles and stuff on him saying how he's going to be the next breakout star, but maybe enough to secure him a roster spot. But that's another guy that we're talking about. Another one that I'm very intrigued to follow the progress of, just as training camp goes on, as preseason rolls around. It is a play that I think is actually going to surprise quite a few of you, because you know the guys I'm automatically going to root for. The Captain Cre'Vons, the Rasul Douglases, the guys that I've spoken about time and time again on this show. And it goes back to that urgency sentiment from Howie Roseman that he was talking about in that talk to Wharton. Something that, how do you create that same sense of urgency? Bringing in a guy like a quarterback. Oh, well now we're just getting a bit spicy. That's one way to create urgency, especially after tendering Nate Sudfeld. Right, the Eagles tender Sudfeld, he signs it, everything's happy, Foles is out the picture, and suddenly Nate Sudfeld is the quarterback too, the heir to the throne. He steps up after a strong preseason, after being trusted with a regular season snap after Nick Foles took a hit. And now he's back. Foles out the way. The Eagles seen enough of him. Everything's good. And along came Cody, the big bad Kessler, right? I mean, that's going to ring to it itself. Big bad Kessler. But I don't think it's that bad. I mean, Kessler needs to have a good camp and a good preseason. Let me tell you why. Kessler is a former third-round pick of the Cleveland Browns. That much is clear. He's also played in 17 regular season games in a 3-year career. He's started 12 of them. He's won 2, alright? Don't be mean, okay? He was with the Browns. He's completed 64% of his passes, 8 touchdowns, 5 picks. It's not bad. He's a game manager. He went to Jacksonville, went 0-8 during his time with the Browns, but 2-2 during his time with the Jags, which ain't bad. That's not bad considering what he was asked to kind of come in and do with all the uncertainty surrounding Blake Bortles, and a lot of people assume that he's going to come in and challenge Sudfeld for that quarterback 2 role, but I don't think that's the case. This is an audition. I mean, there is a chance, don't get me wrong, there is an absolute chance that Kessler will come in and beat out Sudfeld for that spot, but the Eagles are smart. This is a grading scale, because Nate the Great has not been exposed. He's not been given relative, outside of 2 week 17s and a touchdown, which was a dump pass, let's be honest, on a drag over the middle to Nelson Aguilar. It wasn't like he had to run around and then lob it 20 yards down the field and read and manipulate safeties here. Not taking away anything from that touchdown at all, but in terms of relative experience and leading like a drive like that, I think the Eagles still don't know exactly how much they're willing to put the chips down on Kessler, which is what on Sudfeld, sorry, which is why he didn't sign a new deal worth 2 or 3 years. It was a tender. That's the bottom line of that. The way you've got to view that if you're kicking off, because don't get me wrong, I'm a big Nate Sudfeld guy. You can see the improvement from year 1 to year 2 in this system, and I've put a film room up about it. So before you bark at me, just know that I've given you your biscuits, you've eaten your biscuits, and you're barking you want more biscuits. Yeah? So, there's that. The problem is they don't have a grading scale. Kessler is a fringe starter. He's a guy that has started 12 games. Someone that has won games in this league. Someone that has led teams into a fourth quarter, picked up an offense, got into the huddle and kept guys motivated. He's been a leader. Now the Eagles can use that. That is the perfect guy to grade against. Because if Sudfeld can have a much better camp than Kessler and a much better preseason than Kessler, well, they might sign him to an extension there and then, because they know they've got their backup. They know he can hold his own. They know he can come in and against what used to be a QB 1 and 2. I'm so angry at Kessler for taking snaps away from my beloved Kevin Hogan, but that's another debate I'm sure we will never get into. If Sudfeld can come in and really, really outshine Kessler, that's job done. But for Kessler, that's the end of his career. If you go from a 3rd round pick, play 12 games, go to Jacksonville, win 2, bounce to the Eagles, a situation where you know realistically going in you're a QB3 and you can't beat out a backup who has less than 2 starts under his name, then you're not going to get another job anywhere notable soon. You would be a backup. You would be a Ryan Mallett. Yeah? You would be a Hoyer the Destroyer. And that isn't where he wants to be. You don't want to go from hero to zero. Right now, he's on the edge of a knife. And if Kessler goes and balls out and really shows, wow, okay, do you know what? Sudfeld's still got a long way to go. He's still making bad decisions. That game against the Steelers, awful interception early on. If that doesn't change this year, then maybe they will go Kessler. Or maybe a team sees that Kessler is close to a starting level and they don't believe in their current starter enough or don't have an insurance policy behind him, and that's where he will sign. Or the Eagles can trade him in that instance and get maybe a conditional 4th or 5th round pick for him. Smarts by Howie Roseman. However way you look at it, that is a very tricky spot to be in. Because it's not like you can just go, oh, he threw more than this guy, he looked better than this guy, he threw more touchdowns. It doesn't work like that. There are so many more tangibles. Who do the locker room gravitate towards? Are they going to start moving to Kessler? Is there going to be chemistry there? Or is it still very much Sudfeld's hive where he knows everyone, he's acclimated with everyone with the offense? Same with Thorson. There's a chance that Thorson could even get exposed to waivers here. So a guy that I'm rooting for, it isn't Sudfeld. I want to see what big bad Kessler can do. I'd love to see it. I think it would be amazing for Sudfeld to come out and maybe just look a bit wobbly. Maybe that the pressure gets to him slightly here. Maybe Cody Kessler is going to cement his case to be a starter and reinvigorate his career. And I'm all for that. Sudfeld has got a very comfortable situation. He's a developmental arm, always has been. But now it's getting uncomfortable. Because the weight of knowing if it is week 13, playoffs on the line, Wentz goes down again, God forbid, I'm not saying he will. Can the Eagles trust Sudfeld to go out and close the deal? Because if they can't, Big Bad Kessler might. And it might be Big Bad Kessler's time to really throw the cat among the pigeons here. I've got to stop saying that. I've said it like 74 times this podcast. But I truly believe it. I think Cody Kessler is going to be a name to watch. Because his career's on the line. What's the worst that happens here? If Cody Kessler messes up and you're Nate Sudfeld, oh no. Oh, damn it, I've still got a job. Oh, that's the worst. Grr. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not that Sudfeld has to shine, it has to be better than Kessler. And if Kessler's bad, then the job's already done. All the momentum's on Sudfeld's side here. Everyone has to understand that. Kessler's the outsider looking in. With all the odds stacked against him of somehow getting past Nate Sudfeld, who's been entrenched in this system for quite some time. So that's what I want to see, Big Bad Kessler. But while we're on that note, we're talking Big Bad Thank You next. We are getting to that part of the podcast. It's a little bit shorter this time around, but you guys have sent your questions in. I would have tweeted it the night before, but I was on a coach back and I was very, very tired. So here we are. We have 3 questions today. Thank you. Next, the first one comes from Teddy Biriani. He says, first cheesesteak place you're going to go to in Philly? I don't know. That's a very good question. And one that I'm probably going to ask the customs. Oh, what sites do you want to see? And I can't say Pat's or Gino's because he might choke slam me there and then and send me back to England. So I don't know anywhere outside of Pat's and Gino's. But I went to Passyunk Avenue, which I'm pretty sure is pronounced like Pashunk or something in Philly. So that was good. Whether that's anything like with the things we'll see in Philly, who knows? But somewhere that isn't touristy, like I'll ask around. Maybe I'll host a poll closer to the time. Or can you get like takeaway cheesesteaks? Can you like go on do you have to have Just Eat or Uber Eats or Deliveroo in America? Can I just go onto an app and here, hey, I'll have a cheesesteak delivered? Or do I have to go in the restaurant for the experience? That's a thank you next question I'm asking you. So role reversal. Didn't see that one coming today, did you, you filthy animals? So, question 2. Thank you next to Geordie Fighter 14. Says, who do I think will be the backup QB? Oh, what a question. What a coincidence. It's going off the back of what I just said. I think Sudfeld will keep it. But I would love to see a bit of fire. I would love to see, I don't want this to be Game of Thrones. I don't want this to be the Battle of Winterfell and then everything. Battle of Winterfell is amazing, ends heroically, everyone's cheering and screaming. And then at the very end of it, the last few episodes are like, oh, great, that was a waste of time. I don't want that level of potential intensity to dissipate into nothing. I would love to see Kessler really stake his claim here. Maybe he gets it, maybe he gets pulled elsewhere, but I want to see Kessler put on a show. I do think, though, that it will be Nate Sudfeld keeping his current role as a QB2. And thank you next, finally, to Will Roberts, who says your favourite bad take of the off-season. That is a tricky one. Oh, there's so many to choose from. I think the one the other day that isn't even football related, but was Angelo Cataldi, who put out something about the Sixers paying Ben Simmons a $5 million, $170 million, a 5-year, $170 million deal. Imagine how much he would have got paid if he could learn to shoot. And I don't think he understands how max contracts work, really. And that was great. I loved that. That was a great take. If it was my favourite bad take for my own bad takes, I've certainly had a couple. I don't know. I think I was kind of probably proven a little bit wrong. I say a little bit wrong. I just had the most animosity when the whole Ronald Darby thing happened. I think I was the only one saying it was a bad move. So that didn't sit too well. But you know what? Like, I'm not here to say how amazing everything is 24/7. I'm here to say what I think. And that's what I'm always going to give you. It's my honest opinion and thoughts. Outside of that, there have been a few from the people. Obviously, the article defamating Carson Wentz's character was excellent in so many of the wrong ways, where you kind of have to applaud its effort for doing what it set out to do. But I don't know, there have been a few. I think some of the ones you see are guys that you can tell are trying to put them out on purpose. Like the best one is that Adam Thielen's route running was bad. That was never ever questioned by anyone ever. That was somehow a take. They're like, oh, everyone says Adam Thielens' route running is bad. Stop it. It's like, no, who has said that? No one has ever said that. No one. I don't know. I mean, in terms of an Eagles hot take, I don't know. I don't think there's been... I mean, I think Joe Giglio's had some stonkers along the way. He's had some proper pongers. Elliot's had some very good takes. Elliot Shaw-Parks, I've been very impressed. Since he's come on the podcast, he's learning. I'm joking. But I don't know. It's been a very weird off-season for takes. I think that people are a bit scared to make them now because they get slammed a lot on Twitter. Whereas I don't. I'll still go out there and say what it is. And that's why I applaud Elliot and guys like Joe especially for doing what he does. But you're more seeing takes on radio. You don't really see them written that much. Although if you really do want a stonker of a take, just look at Keane's quarterback rankings for 2020 because they are disgusting in every sense of the word. It's like ordering a takeaway and just being sent actual excrement. So if you want to get a really bad take, that's where I would draw your attention to. And for our final bit of the show, what I would love to do is go through the Madden ratings. Before we do though, guys, again, if you like what you've seen today and you haven't yet subscribed, please make sure you do. We are on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, Spreaker, Stitcher. If you're on YouTube, if you're one of the few hundred people that watch this on YouTube, if you can hit the link in the description to Apple Podcasts, leave a 5-star review, that'd be great. But what I'd love to do right now is go through the Madden ratings, because they came out and caused quite the controversy. Because the Eagles, albeit being the highest rated team in the league, I mean, there was some questionable... I mean, Ronald Darby's an 82. We can leave Ronald alone, Liam. We don't need to talk about Ronald Darby, alright? Carson Wentz is an 82. That needs a debate. I understand coming off the back of 2 injury-played seasons. An 85, though. I mean, if Deshaun Jackson is an 85, I'd switch those two. Easily switch those two. Deshaun Jackson should be an 82. If Nelson Aguilar's an 83... Yeah, I'd say Carson Wentz is an 85. Switch them around. One guy who has been done absolutely dirty, though. And I mean dirty. This is a filthy rating. And I'm going to build this up a little bit more. Because it is disgusting. Boston Scott is the same rating as Donnell Pumphrey. Why? I mean, at least Boston Scott has played in the league. At least he's got on the field. At least he's played impressively in preseason games and not just been thrown around like a rag doll. So I don't get that. A bit further down, LJ Fort is a 66. Awful. That should be a 70. Sharif Miller is a 66. Should be about 62, I would argue. Interestingly though, running back Miles Sanders is a 72, and Arcega Whiteside is a 73. Spicy, I know. Will Tye is the same as Richard Rodgers, both tight ends, at a 74, although somewhere along the line, Will Tye has got 86 speed and 88 acceleration. Now, I don't know what that man has been eating for breakfast. I don't want to know what that man has been eating for breakfast, but that is mental. So, okay, fine, have that. Other anomalies on this list, Jernigan still a 78, should be a 75, missed the entire pretty much of last year. Malik Jackson's an 80, should be a bit higher, I would say, maybe like an 82. Braxton Miller 70, maybe bump it up. He's probably shown a bit more than Shelton Gibson. Isaac Seumalo is a starting lineman now. He's 70 overall. And for context, okay, a 70 overall left guard. Josh Sweat is a 70 overall defensive end. I mean, Seumalo has played in just about every game ever. He's played at both guard spots, interchangeable, trained at centre. Took over from Wisniewski, was very solid as a left guard last year, and signed an extension as a result. 70, the same as Shelton Gibson, who has done nothing. I mean, that is like comparing me and my 38-inch vertical to... Oh, I've got to be careful what I say now, haven't I? No, it's like comparing the Ford GM 2019 Motor Trend Truck of the Year Vauxhall to a Land Rover that has 2 wheels. and a broken stereo. Why? It just doesn't need to happen. A little bit further down the list, though, I mean, the further you go, the worse it gets. Vaitai 66, Wisniewski 66. Yikes. And they're both competing for a starting. So potentially, the Eagles' offensive line on Madden, in week 1, given that Brandon Brooks is obviously absent potentially, could be Lane Johnson, Jason Peters, fine. Jason Kelsey, fine. Then a 70 and a 66. That's great. That's nice, that. Good. Cody Kessler's a 61. 61? No. Matt Pryor's 59? No. Mailata's 58. Nate Sudfeld is 57. Fair. Okay, maybe. Sure. But not when Clayton Dawson is 56. And on that bombshell, we have got news. We have got news. And I have to go and write about it, so this is the end of the podcast. But Darren Sproles is back with the team on a 1-year deal, which massively hurts my guy Boston Scott, and I'm not happy about it. Other than that, I think that's a strong move. We'll get into why very, very shortly. I'm going to go and write about it right now. Thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you head to phillysportsnetwork.com and the YouTube channel for instant analysis of this Darren Sproles move. For myself, Liam Jenkins, you can follow me at Liam Jenkins PSN, at Philadelphia SN. I'll see you next time.